Hey everyone, how's it going? Hopefully you can all join in if you are an investor for Avant brands. If this is your first time watching, my name is Emiya Hilson. Thank you very much for joining in. And we're here today to talk about their second quarter result for 2021. So, as you know, this brand, and I'm actually very fortunate as well and very grateful to have you guys join in with me just talk about this company. And I'm guessing most of you are also an investor in this company as well. So I will get started and tell you guys a little bit about what I feel about this company. So, you know, my channel is more about gaming as well as finances and languages, so it's a lot of different interests. So finance is one of my biggest passions, and I hope with every video you can all learn something about it. Okay, and here we go. We have in the chat Skylar. Hello Skylar. You have Avant. Is it? Okay, so this is a curious question. How do you pronounce Avant correctly? So how do you guys pronounce this? I'm just so curious. Is it Avant or is it Av? You know, with an AD, right? Advent or Avant. Who knows? You know what? Let's see how they pronounce it. Let's click on this. So let's just go to the. So this is the homepage, and it says innovate, never imitate. And if you guys know what I'm talking about, actually, right now we are, what is it? We are looking at a company that changed their name from G-Tech to something called Avant. And I think this name sounds so much better than G-Tech. It's more memorable in a way, and I just like this name much more. You know, it's much easier to remember. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna talk about the new earnings report that just released now. Okay, and if you found me, you know, through YouTube or anything, thank you very much. Or maybe on Yahoo Finance, because I posted this on Yahoo Finance as well. And so if you joined in from Yahoo Finance, put your hands up. And glad to have, you know, appreciate that you are able to spend your time watching this video. And Skylar, you pronounce it as Advante. Oh, that's actually a very nice pronunciation for this name. Avante. Okay, how did they pronounce it? Ooh, okay. It's, what is this sign? How do you pronounce this? Is it A or A? Okay, with the little symbols on top. So it's A or A. And you also have Van right here, or Van. And is this silent? Is that what it is? I don't know my English that well, but maybe if you guys know your English that well, let me know, okay? So I'm just gonna pronounce it as Avant or Avante, or is it te or Avant? Whatever. I'm gonna pronounce it as Avant. Okay. So here we go. The earnings that I have. So letting you know, I'm a big investor in this company, and if you guys don't know, I actually have a lot of shares of this company. I give you guys a sneak preview of how much I've invested into this company. And it's pretty big, okay? It's a pretty big amount, and I will write it in the chat below, okay? This is how much I have invested. And I will show you guys in the other videos to show you at the end of this month to reveal my entire portfolio, okay? So stay tuned for that. So this is how much shares I have, okay? And my average cost. Okay, I'll write it in the chat below. So you guys can figure that out how much money I put into this. And this is actually my number one investment. I feel this company has the greatest rate of return in my portfolio. All right. Yeah. So that's how much I believe in this company, and I think it's a realistic belief on how much I believe in it. Because I feel with the marijuana. Before we get into the earnings report, I want to talk about my thinking of my opinion on this company. I feel marijuana industry in the next 5 years is gonna be very hot. It's gonna be expanding year over year, especially with legalization in America. And even though we're in Canada and it's already legalized, the shift towards legal cannabis is actually getting much better. You know, a lot of people still prefer illegal cannabis, but legal cannabis, that market is slowly beating the illegal one, okay? And over time, I think 90% or maybe 80% will still go towards legal cannabis. And Skylar, thank you for joining in. This live stream video popped up in my notification. Maybe YouTube algorithm connected my interest in Avant to your stream. Well, YouTube knows how to do things, right? They know what type of videos you like to watch. They look at your history, and then they connect it all together. Alright, Skylar. Avant is my number 2 investment next to Planet 13. But only because I got into Planet 13 late. Avant will be my number 1 soon. So you're invested in Planet 13. And Planet 13 actually is a really incredible brand as well. I believe that they were about $1 or something last year, their valuation, and they're able to increase it by 5 or 6 times. Yeah, that's incredible. They're now a $1.5 billion company, and the view is that marijuana industry, the market the total available market will only go up, and it's a pretty intense industry that will continue to expand, and a lot of competition, right? There's so many marijuana companies out there that tries to be different than each other, right? But that's why as an investor it's important to pick the ones that you really truly can see compete on different levels. And you know what? Planet 13 it's kind of like the Disneyland of marijuana, okay? They compete in the high-end product, right? Same as Avant, okay? And I believe it's not a winner-take-all industry. It's going to be multiple winners, just like healthcare, just like electric vehicle. You know, there's gonna be many winners, and I think this brand right here has the potential to be one of the biggest winners and leaders in marijuana in Canada. Okay, so here we get started. Let's get started with the earnings report. Before that, I like to give you guys my prediction. Okay, maybe you guys can take a look at the prediction, because you always, as a fundamental investor, you wanna actually invest in companies that you feel has great expansion opportunities and able to meet it. So let's see. Let me if I can do this. Do you guys see something? Microsoft Word. Here we go. So if you guys can see that, look at that. I even do predictions because I'm a fundamental investor, right? I do a prediction for every quarter, and even full year for all my companies. That shows my dedication and my willingness to invest fundamentally and for the long term. So first quarter, I actually had my original prediction was 2.8 million in revenue. That was off. The actual was 2.2 million, and that was because of their because they were actually saving some supply for Israel, their international partner. Okay, and at that time, marijuana sales, I think for a month or two, because of the coronavirus lockdown, business weren't as good. So that really dropped revenue, and that was a bit disappointing. And their net income was about $368,000 compared to 1.4 million. I think I went too insane, okay? Because that's just kind of unrealistic. So I kind of changed the way I calculate net income. You know, if net income is about 20 to 40% of your revenue, that's already very good. And after revision, I predict them for this quarter, the second quarter, to have $3.75 million in revenue and $600,000 in net income. What about you guys? I'm curious to hear what are your guys' opinion on, your opinion and also your price prediction or revenue prediction, net income prediction for this coming quarter. Write it in the comments below if you could. And welcome Terry Hurst. I have a similar position at 59-cent average. Ooh, I would love to get into that with 59 cents, okay? The lower it goes, the more I buy, okay? But anyways, let's get started. Here we go. Okay, in the news. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Let's get started, guys. Okay. So, report second quarter of fiscal 2021 results. Achieved record gross revenue of $2.9 million, reflecting 30% growth from prior quarter. Increased average selling price by 12% from the prior quarter to $7.21. And they improved their adjusted EBITDA to a nominal loss of $28,000. Okay, so let's see. Maintain strong capital position with approximately $17.6 million in cash and no debt. Okay, so let's slowly take a look at this number. Okay, 2.9 million. Actually, what was I expecting? 3.75. So I actually was a little bit. I'm actually quite disappointed from this initial number, because I was actually expecting them to at least put up 3 million. Because remember when they released their first quarter results, at that time they said that in the first month they already surpassed 2.2 million. So I thought in the remaining months, so May and June, it would be even higher, right? I don't think sales would drop that much, but it seems like it did, all right? And that had a huge effect. But let's see what they have to say about it, right? Because you can't always look just on one sentence and stuff. You have to see what they have to say. So initially, I think it's a disappointment in my eyes, but we'll see. Let's see. Record gross revenue of 2.9 million compared to 2.2 million, an increase of $675,000 or 30%. Sold 394 kilograms of cannabis compared to 342, and that's a 15% increase quarter over quarter. Your gross margins went from 41% to 39%, small decrease. And your margin for dollars is $961,000 compared to $811,000. That's an increase of about 18%. So it's funny, their gross margins are less, but they earn a lot more money. So usually they go together, right? If you have higher gross margin, then that means you should produce more dollars. But kind of interesting how they had a little bit lower margins, but their dollar sales is actually a bit higher. So I think what it means is that they're able to sell products that actually gave them more margins, much higher the margins, and that's why it's able to actually increase their margin dollars. Okay, recreational cannabis sales accounted for 90% of total sales. That's a big increase from 82%, a 10% increase. So now recreational cannabis is 92% of their quarterly sale. Overall weighted average selling price increased by 12% to $7.21. And that's what they had right here in the highlights, the main highlights. And now they have recreational rated average selling price decreased 1% to $7.37 per gram. You know what? When you ever look at the grams and stuff, right, and how much it's worth for average selling price, you're gonna see a fluctuation because trends happen, right? So if you see a huge fluctuation that could really affect your quarterly earnings, right, and your predictions as well. But so if they're able to control it, right, and have some, and still have continued, high average selling price, you're able to still earn a lot more revenue and also net income out of that. Because if you're able to keep your margins high, your costs high, and customers still want it, that means you're doing something correctly. Next, operating expenses of $1.2 million compared to $1 million, and 20% increase. Now I'm gonna have a net loss from operations of $124,000 compared to net income from operations of $368,000, a decrease of $492,000, or 134%, as the company had higher professional fees relating to its financing and Toronto Stock Exchange graduation initiatives. So I expected this to be another profitable quarter, but because they spent a lot on financing as well, and also companies, they were able to have a few finance credit loans with different banks, I believe, and different companies. And also yesterday they just entered the Toronto Stock Exchange, so which means it opens up themselves to more buyers. All right. Yeah, so now a lot more people know about this brand, and that's good because Toronto Stock Exchange is the biggest, all right, in Canada for exchanges. So how can I find this company right here? Is it this one? This is the American one, right? There we go. Found it. Yeah, so now they're kind of in the biggest Toronto Stock Exchange market, right? That's how you're able to find them. You can buy them in the entire Toronto Exchange. Adjusted EBITDA loss of $28,000 compared to a loss of $199,000. That's a great improvement of 86%. So adjusted earnings before interest, tax, demoralization, something like that, which means how much money you're making after before you calculate those things. And so they lost less money compared to the last quarter, which is a great improvement, but their entire net loss was much bigger and something that I didn't expect, because I didn't actually expect them to upgrade to the Toronto Stock Exchange, but they did, and they paid, seems like, higher professional fees relating to financing. So that was a big surprise, knowing that they had to pay a lot, and that made them actually unprofitable this quarter. Next one, maintain a strong capital position with about $17.6 million of cash and no debt. Anytime you have no debt, you can sleep well at night. Okay, this company is not going to go bankrupt, and they have a lot of cash power for a lot of different acquisitions, okay, and expansion opportunities. So if you're talking about 17.6 million, all right, and out of a market cap of 145 million, you're talking about 12% of the company is in cash. That's high. That's high. Most companies only about 5%, okay? 5% or lower. So 12% is super high. Now let's see what Norton's Singhaven has to say about it. Our quarter 2 earnings have been the result of our relentless focus on building a long-term, and sustainable competitive advantage within the sector. Okay, building a long-term and sustainable competitive advantage within the marijuana field. Good. I see that. And this company just started out, I think, a few years ago. And so it wasn't really until last year when they started expanding. Alright? So this is going to be a company I feel is going to be well known in the marijuana world, and especially in Canada as well. They're going to need to do well in Canada first before expanding. Yeah. Internationally, like into America or Israel. But it's good if they're able to expand all at once, but I like them to mainly focus on Canada first. Make a name for yourself in Canada. That way, when you move to international to other countries, a lot more people will see what you've done in Canada. Although this was a record quarter, we still see tremendous opportunities for further growth as we increase our productions, our product lines, and await licensing to receive its Health Canada licenses. What's await 3PL? Let's check that out. Oh, the third-party logistics. That's what it means. Oh, short for third-party logistics. So, waiting for third-party logistics to receive its Health Canada licenses. We're excited to begin our journey on the Toronto Stock Exchange with a strong capital position as Avant, a leading innovative brand house, as we continue to execute on our strategy to produce market-leading products. Okay, so after reading all about this, what do you guys all think about this earnings report so far? Were you disappointed? Were you kind of satisfied? Like, you know, it met expectations? 3, were you very excited because they surpassed your expectations? Or yeah, so there's 3 things. Were you disappointed? Were you satisfied? Or were you super hyped and satisfied? And I'll give my opinion after I finish reading the other parts. So the key highlights of quarter 2. So they closed a deal offering for about $23 million. Is it 23 million? Yes, $23 million. At shares at this price. Okay. So Desjardins Capitals and 8 Market as the leader. Okay. So good. They were able to sell some shares at this high valuation. Currently higher than what they're trading at right now, maybe about 10%. But don't forget, this company, I think a few months ago in March was about $1, okay? What else did they do? They repaid their debt. That's what it is, senior. This is kind of like really fancy language. I just say it's repaying their debt, okay? That's what happened, okay? And now, see, look, the company is now free of debt. That's what it is. And he also had an agreement with Focus Medical Herbs, an Israeli medical cannabis company. And that's one of the main business focus for this company, right? When they want to expand medically and as well into medically and also internationally, right? So they had agreement with Israel. So this medical cannabis company, they're going to continue to start giving them or delivering them products with expectations of 500 to 1,000 kilograms every year. First purchase order is expected to deliver in late 3rd quarter or early 4th quarter of this year. Now that's a really good reoccurring customer base, but you need more, right, in order to really expand to what I see as a true potential. So 500 to 1,000 every year, that's good, that's great. But they need more partners like this, alright? This is just the start, like I'm saying. Okay, let's take a look at the chat. Terry, accounting expenses to meet new listing requirements. This quarter was an investment on the rebranding and listing, and would be disappointing if not for the rebrand and listing change. Now, really thinking about your comment, It really opened up because initially, when I was looking at this revenue number, I was disappointed because I wasn't factoring in at that moment, I wasn't factoring in the promotion to Toronto Stock Exchange as well as the rebranding in itself, right? Because I thought, this brand, it's still very, very well known. I mean, it's known, but it's not that super well known to the point where everybody knows about it. But so that's what it is. And when they told us that in the first quarter results, they already surpassed Q1 revenue. I expected that in the next 2 months, they would easily at least produce another $1 million, but they couldn't. So we have to see about that. I want to see what they have to say about the trends. But I think your point is made about the net loss, right? You want to talk about that, right? And that's why it's net loss of 124,000, not a net gain of 368,000, right? Your reasoning is factoring towards why they lost money this quarter, and I think I totally understand that because this accounting expenses as well as this rebranding part, this promotion in a way, as well as this promotion into the Toronto Stock Exchange. All right. Yes, and I totally would agree. If none of that happened, no rebranding, no uplisting into the Toronto Stock Exchange, I would be massively disappointed and actually and probably sell out some of my shares. That's what it is. But great point you made, Terry. Thank you. See, that's why I like making live streams like this whenever I read a live report, because there's so many thoughts that I have that I want to share, and if I do this myself, it's kind of hard to share with people. Whereas if I do a live stream, people share with me their opinions, and I love it. I love being open-minded. I love looking at different people's opinions in a way and seeing what people think of as well. Thank you. And those of you that are still watching right now, I'd love to hear your opinions as well, okay? Let's look at some of the other key highlights on the the sales and market highlights, okay? So their BLK market so that's their number one product, right? I think. Let's take a look. Brands. And I think it won marijuana of the year or something. So this is what it is. Black MK. That's what it is. BLK MKT. And I think that's pronounced as Black Market? Or is it? Okay. So anyways, this is their number one product. The highest standards for true connoisseurs. Okay. Highest grade, top quality cannabis. Okay. This continues to be a top selling premium item in all provinces. So remember, they have, if you look at their investors presentation the other day, like what I did, they have 4 facilities. 3 is in British Columbia. 1 is in Ontario, and another one's coming in Edmonton. Let me find it for you guys. Okay, 3 in Canada, in British Columbia. Okay, 1 is being built right now in Edmonton, in Alberta. Okay, that's another province that's getting much more popular in marijuana usage. And there's 1 in Ontario, and you need to have 1 in Ontario because Ontario is the number 1 province for marijuana sales, and I believe it ranks below. I believe under Ontario it's, I think, Edmonton or British Columbia. I don't know. All I know is British Columbia is top 3, I believe. And where I got all this information, you can actually find it on here, this website. And this is a great website for all cannabis news, okay? Okay, cannabisretailer.ca. A lot of insight on cannabis companies in Canada and also in US as well. So North America details. I love it. I think this is such a great website for details and all. It's for free. Love reading more on this, you know. So, and hopefully you guys can check it out as well, this website. Anyways, let's go back into the key sales and market highlights. Their black market. Is it black market? Because no, what does BLK really stand for? Their BLK MKT product, pre-rolls, rapidly emerged as a top-selling premium 1 gram pre-roll in BC and Ontario, ranking in 2nd and 3rd in Ontario. So quickly, this product has become top 3 seller in the premium quality category. Good. You need that. You need a product that kind of represents the face of your company. Okay, it represents Avant. Okay. You launched BLK MKT McFlurry, not McDonald's McFlurry, McFlurry. Exclusive to only Avant with overwhelming success, including rapid sellouts and exceptional reviews. So this McFlurry is some type of, like, I guess, sweet ice cream flavor? Because that's what it is. They renamed it as that. Next one. Another highlight on their BLK MKT product. This is their top product, right? So, experienced 38% growth in sell-through of 3.5 gram products year over year in British Columbia. Alright, wow. So year over year, this product has experienced big growth, big customer reviews as well, and a lot of high customer ratings. Next one. We increased market penetration in Ontario from 30% to 60% during the quarter. Whoa, that's huge. Huge. If you're able to go into Ontario initially with 30% and now you're 60%, you know, in that area now, right? You've reached out into that province, have a lot more customers. 30 to 60% is massive. And when you talk about Ontario being the biggest province in Canada to consume and sell marijuana, that's huge. That's great news. And what's next? You had a contract whereby leading concentration companies will manufacture. They cooperated with a manufacturing company to make Tenzo. And Tenzo is this one, I believe, right here. Another type of, I think it's more calming marijuana. So it's, I think, much higher in, is it THC or CBD? Probably THC. So this company will manufacture Tenzo, a branded vaping cartridge for sale in the Canadian recreational market. This is another good thing to focus on because besides BLK MKT, what other products do you have to offer to the customers, right? And that's another one that they have here, where it's fruity, pungent flavors. Ooh, ooh. And then you also have Habitat branded cannabis flower. Oh, it's okay. So not quite sure what that is. So I guess this is another product. Oh, this is too epic music. I gotta change it up. Right, too epic music. Too epic for this. Earning support. Let's calm down. Next one. We have a steady increase in medical clients while expanding the product offering in both cavatars and package formats. So the medical area for cannabis is huge as well. You know, people use it recreationally, right? But another big reason why people use marijuana is for medical use, whether it's to relieve pain, stress, treat symptoms of diseases in a way. That's a big market in itself. You know, I think marijuana, before it was a very bad stigma, it had a very bad image because it made people do very stupid things. A lot of people made a lot of terrible decisions because of it, but now, as the years gone by, you see some benefits to using it, okay? No, I'm not saying that if you use it, you become smarter, but there are some benefits to using it, and that can't be proven wrong. There is actually some benefits to using it. So it's up to you to search for it as well, okay? Now, what are some of the key events in quarter 2? Okay, rebranded to Avant Brands. I keep on saying it. Is it Avant, Avante, Avant, whatever, Avant. And obviously the big one, the big change where they entered the Toronto Stock Exchange. Secured initial listing for the Tenzo vape cartridges with the Ontario Cannabis Store. Good. So basically that really relates to the market attack in Ontario, right? So how much of a market presence do you have in Ontario now, besides in one province? And what's this one? Filed a what's prospectus for up to an offering of 50 million. Once final and effective, it will provide the company with flexibility to take advantage of financing opportunity. Should favorable market conditions arise during a 25-month period that remains active. So is this so I read this as two ways. One is that you're selling your stock for 50 million more, right? Or you're saying that you're offering to sell more of your stock to other companies for 50 million, to raise 50 million. So I guess this is a capital raise of 50 million, and that's by selling your stock, right? If someone can help me out with that. And this could happen anytime during the next 2 years. That's what basically they're saying. So I like that, how they're trying to boost up their cash position when they're already pretty strong in cash. Okay, now we're gonna look at a chart and see what's up. I like looking at charts like this because you can always compare. Revenue, quarter 2, $2.9 million versus 2.2, where we got that. Okay, a good beat probably in their eyes, but I think it was kind of disappointing in my eyes, where I was expecting 3.5. Okay, and that was about like 59% revenue growth year over year, but it's only 30%. And I like to see what management has to say about that tomorrow on their conference call, and that's happening 5 p.m. Eastern time and 2 p.m. Pacific, and definitely I'll be listening. So instead of comparing year over year, because last year they were in little baby mode, right? They were just slowly starting to expand. This is the year where I see much bigger progress, so I like to compare quarter over quarter. I think that's a stricter comparison instead of year over year comparison. Obviously year over year comparison, you're gonna see much higher numbers and much more prettier numbers, but I'm more stricter. I like to compare quarter over quarter, how much success you have over quarter, and the trends as well. Next, net revenue is about $2.4 million compared to 1.9, a 25% change. And out of that net revenue, most of it, like they said, 90 something percent, right? Where is this? Recreational cannabis was responsible for 92% of total sales compared to 82%, right? Look, it's 92% of the total net revenue already, okay? And compared to quarter 1, that's actually a 52% big growth, okay? So that's how much recreational sales has helped for the revenue, quarter over quarter. And their business to business wholesale sales decreased actually from 400 million last quarter to 67. Over time, I still see recreational sales as a much bigger driver, right? I wouldn't be so worried about business to business yet. Maybe in the end, once this company becomes much better production in a way, cost efficiency, I see this company probably doing 80% of their net revenue in recreational and 20% in business to business. That's how it should be. I think that's the highest it will be. I don't see business to business going over 20% in a way, unless they find a lot of great companies that are able to purchase their product. But mostly, marijuana is a more recreational product, right? Gross margin. Let's go. Gross margin is 961 million. No, sorry. Yes, is it 961? This 961,000. Okay, compared to 811,000, 18% increase. Nice. Gross margin, we know it decreased a little bit, 5%. 5%. It's kind of funny because like you look at quarter one, right? It's 41%, but you look at quarter two, it's 39%. So isn't 41 minus 39 2? Oh wait, but you gotta do something different because it's gotta be change over quarter, right? Change over quarter. So yes, on looking at it intuitively, it looks wrong to be 5%, but it is correct because you take it as a rate of change, right? And you also have your SG&A. I think that's general expenses, right? SG&A is selling, general, administrative expenses. So in other words, expenses, okay? I like to think of things simply, right? So understand things simple as well. So the expenses increased 6% to about 1.4 million. And that's really mainly because I guess you would have to say rebranding and also their promotion and entering and their transition to the Toronto Stock Exchange. But that's actually pretty good because I'm expecting a lot higher if that's the case. But it's not too much, actually, only a 6% increase. Okay, next we have adjusted earnings, adjusted EBITDA at minus 28,000 compared to a loss of 200,000. That's an 86% increase. Great to see because now that you see that, it means you are earning a lot more money back from your revenue sales. All right, after I guess after factoring different things. So adjusted EBITDA, it's very complicated to see how to calculate adjusted EBITDA. So it's a measure for a company that understands that uses its earnings and adds back interest, taxes, and stuff. Okay, that's a pretty good idea to figure out if a business is pretty profitable before taxes and everything else. So it came from net revenue, right? So gross revenue to net revenue, and then you drop it down to adjusted EBITDA. And then lastly, after the taxes and everything, then you go to net income. So how does this, so if somebody wants to tell me something, you know you have total revenue right here, right? Of 2.9 million. How do you go from 2.9 million to 2.4 million in net revenue? So where's that difference? What's that difference called? Because you look at gross margin here, they use gross margin. How they calculate gross margin is taking out the percentage from net revenue, right? Because if you use 39% times this net revenue, you should get 961,000, right? 961,000. So where is this difference, and what's that called? You see? How do you lose 500,000 in a way? If you understand what you mean. If you understand what I mean. Terry, offering is dilution. Okay, so you're trying to explain to me this, right? And offering about 50 million. Yeah, offering is dilution, but hopefully at $2 plus per share to limit dilution. Typical stuff. You are a public company to raise capital. Favorable market in the next 25 months refers to a higher share price. So I guess they will do this share offering or share dilution in a way when its price is high in the next 2 years. And like you said, this is definitely normal. I mean, almost every company has done this. It depends on, now it's normal to do this, but depends how many times you've done this, and how often you do it is the most important part, and how much you try to raise every time. Okay, so with this $50 million cash raise, I think they're gonna put it to really great use on top of how much cash they already have. Okay, maybe they want to build up their facilities more. You want to improve their cost efficiency. All right, improve their margins, right? So I support this, and maybe tomorrow we'll hear about it in the conference call to see what they plan to do with that 50 million. Okay. Next up, let's look at sales of cannabis flower. 394 kilograms compared to 342, 15% increase. Total selling price for them is about $7.21. That's a 12% increase from Q1. And like I said, besides looking at earnings report, it's super important to listen in to the conference call, because there are quite a few details that you will miss and not understand just by reading the earnings report, right? Another step further of information is in the conference call, especially with great analysts asking great questions, right? So that's something important to do for a fundamental investor, and especially if you're a long-term investor like me, it is a really basic thing to do. It's something that you should do as a fundamental long-term investor, and get yourself into a good habit, right, of doing it if you have the time. Obviously, I do have the time. It's also part of my work, so I'm willing to do something like that. Okay, so tomorrow I'm gonna listen in. So Terry, let's take a look at your comment. The difference between the total net revenue and gross revenue is probably because of tariffs, taxes, or government fees. So yeah, basically total revenue is how much you sold in terms of marijuana, right? How much business you earn from that, how much sales you earn from that. And then afterwards, once you earn all that, you still have to pay some taxes, maybe some fees and all that, and that's how you get to net revenue. That's how much is left. And out of that, you have to pay, all your workers and everything, your expenses, lighting and all that, production costs. That's how you get to 961,000, right? And then afterwards, yeah, it's just a lot of complicated calculations, but anyways, you have the expenses, you minus your expenses, and then you get something like that. So a lot of different calculations in a way, but main thing to really look at is your profit margin, right? Your total revenue, as well as your net income every quarter. And if you see improvements, that's a great sign. Okay, I was expecting a massive improvement. Maybe I was too optimistic on their improvement. Now after this report is finished, I'm actually gonna go back and rechange my third quarter prediction. But it's good to see that it increases quarter over quarter. Everything's almost improving, and it's there's some exceptions, right? Especially with net income, and that's really because of all that expenses onto, like what I mentioned already, the promotion to TSX as well as rebranding. So next few quarters, I expect a higher net income and as well as a even higher total revenue. So all in all, without listening to the conference call yet, I would give this report, I think I'll give this report a C+. The reason is that I was still expecting at least, my lowest estimate was $3 million in revenue. And not being able to hit $3 million was a very disappointing point in a way, especially with the amount of sales that they had in April, I think. That's what it is, yeah. So what happened in May and what happened in June? And I think if an analyst can ask that question tomorrow, that'd be great. I want to hear the explanation. And probably they will talk about it themselves, even without someone asking them. And also, I want their future outlook. They didn't really provide any future outlook on upcoming cannabis sales this year. Maybe they will provide it tomorrow at the earnings call. Okay. But overall, C+ because they really missed revenue. I expected them to be profitable this quarter, but I give them a little bit of understanding that they paid a lot to promote, to rebrand themselves. But still, I was expecting a net income gain, okay, not net loss. Other than that, it's great to see that their brand, especially the number one brand, is a top seller in Ontario and BC. They are expanding into Ontario. It seems like the presence is much bigger, as well as their reoccurring international revenue with Israel, right? So there are some optimistic things to really look forward to, and yeah, I think with all quarterly results and growth cycles, a company, it's hard to say a company. It's really hard for a company to go straight up like that, like this. But when you're in a high growth, it's to be expected, and I see this as a tremendously high growth company that's going to continue to grow at least 20%, 30% year over year. Terry, logistics and growth cycles throw off quarterly numbers. Inventory levels are an important number when thinking about the next quarter. A business that grows crops is not like a manufacturing company. So now let me really think about that. Right, logistics and growth cycles. Especially growth trends, right? Into your different products. It's really hard to predict at times the numbers, and I only know so much details, right, on the marijuana industry, and I'm not an insider myself. That means it's much harder for me to predict. I just try to predict with the information that I've gathered myself, right? I don't know how much inventory they're selling out, how much inventory is left on the shelf that's being unsold, right? That'll be something good to know, good to ask them tomorrow as well. And yes, like you mentioned, they are an important number when thinking about the next quarter. Yeah, and especially the product that they have, whether it's gaining popularity or not, whether it's selling or not. A business that grows crops is not like a manufacturing company. What do you mean by that? Because a business that grows its own, like, are you talking about vertical integration, or what do you mean? Because a manufacturing company is a company simply that makes its own materials and products, right? So what do you mean by a business that grows crops is not like a manufacturing company? Just confused about that, and if you can explain a little bit deeper, appreciate it. With all this talking, I have to drink something. You really have to. Let's take a look at the conversations, what they have. Hey, so right here. James. Balance sheet looks beautiful. Can't wait for the conference call tomorrow. Yep. Nathan. Hey, Nathan, if you're in the stream, say hi to me. 2.9 million revenue. That's a great number, I guessed. It was going to be around 3 million. Yes, exactly. That's my exact thought. I was so close to being exact. Overall, I'm happy with what they reported. Let's all hope quarter 3 are on par or even better. I say on par because quarter 2 did have that large order. Yeah, and like that relates to inventory, right? And logistics, right? Garth, balance sheet cleaned up, production beginning to increase. Now it's time to see if the product demand is there and if the company can really execute to become a truly profitable company. Harvest and sell cycle, not like pumping out 100 cars per day. Oh, I guess so. I think I know what you mean. So you know when you harvest the stuff, right? You don't immediately sell it, right? Like how much are you harvesting that actually is being sold, right? Yeah, I think that's what you mean. I think I kind of understand. Because not everything you harvest is going to be sold, right? There'd probably be a lot more left that's unsold. Okay, so after this quarterly report, what am I doing with my shares? Am I buying, selling, or holding? Well, knowing me, the answer is kind of boring. I'm holding, okay? Because this company hasn't done anything wrong for me to consider selling out, okay? Yes, this quarterly revenue it's disappointing in my eyes, but they still have a lot of promising prospects of their business ahead of them. And to find a marijuana company that has no debt, that has a great balance sheet and cash power, as well as a few profitable quarters, it's hard to find. Out of 10 marijuana companies, you can probably only find 1 or even 2 that are like that. That's difficult. 1 or 2, okay? And that's why this company is special. It's special in my eyes, and I think over the years, once I let them continue to grow, they will prove me right. Okay? Time will tell whether I'm right or wrong. I always say that. So yeah, I think that's really about it. Am I buying more of this? No, because I already actually have a lot more. I actually have a lot of shares already. I think I had like 66 cents, and at that price, I only ever buy if it drops 10% or more. So if it ever goes down under if it goes down under 60 cents again, I'm gonna buy more. But I don't think it would. But you know what? Maybe a lot of analysts or maybe retail investors expecting at least 3 million and higher revenue, and when they saw this headline number of 2.9 million, they're like, sell. No, net loss, sell, without really looking too deeply at the report. So tomorrow, I actually won't be surprised, and I would actually predict this. The stock movement tomorrow would be down, maybe about 5%. Maybe about 5%. I think 5% will be reasonable. If it goes up, I'll be, I guess, a little bit surprised in a way, because I think a lot of analysts really focus on this headline number, whereas they really don't really think about everything else that they're doing. You know, in Ontario, especially in Ontario, their expansion in their products, right? And also, I didn't even listen to their conference call yet. They have a lot more to tell me about. Okay, so before selling, really listen in to the conference call, and that's happening tomorrow, 2:00 Eastern. Oh yes, 2:00 Pacific, 5:00 Eastern time. Okay, so if you got time, listen into that. And what else? What else I have to say? Yeah, so there's not really much else. I think I'm gonna do more live streams like this, more interactive live streams like this for almost every company that I invest in, whenever I have time. I think just this interaction with others really helps me think, and really gets me interacting with like-minded people as well. So I thank you all for watching today. If you haven't subscribed, hopefully you can consider subscribing and checking out some of my other videos. You know, this is a company that I'm heavily invested in, my number one investment, and actually one of the first companies to report the second quarterly earnings. So starts off in the right way, not probably the way I want, but very promising in the future as well. So thank you, Skylar, if you're still here, and thank you, Terry, for joining in. I appreciate you, and I hope to see you guys soon in my other videos as well, alright? Until then, be safe, be healthy, and take care of your family members, your friends, society, and most importantly, yourself.